Have you ever heard the saying, "He who leaves a fight lives to fight another day"? Donald J. Trump is the vanquished in this scenario, and he left the fight only to come back and fight in the 2024 elections. Do you think he has what it takes to propel the country? Can he prevent World War III? What else does he have to offer? Come to think of it, in recent happenings and events around, haven't you thought, what would Donald Trump do? Well, in this video, we're going to take you through a timeline of scenarios and try to answer those questions. Let's go. Can he stop World War III? In New Hampshire and South Carolina, Trump held the first two public events in his third presidential campaign. He and his fundraising operation billed the events as the official kickoff of the campaign. He insisted on Saturday that "I'm more angry now and I'm more committed now than I ever was," and that this campaign will be about the future. He also suggested there might be a nuclear apocalypse if he's not elected again. "The 2024 election is our one shot to save our country," he said in South Carolina, before taking one of many shots at his successor. "Through weakness and incompetence, Joe Biden has brought us to the brink of World War III. We are at the brink of World War III, just in case anybody doesn't know it. As president, I will bring back peace through strength." And Trump, who as president infamously swore he had a bigger nuclear button than Kim Jong-un, and purportedly had a plan to nuke North Korea and blame someone else, also claimed he'd end the war in Ukraine within 24 hours if given the chance. It's not clear if he thinks any other Republicans will also be able to prevent World War III, and that's why he is running. Elections. Saturday marked the final day of the Conservative Political Action Conference, and former President Donald Trump delivered the closing act. Change only happens if we plow fearlessly ahead and declare with one voice that the era of woke and weaponized government is over. That is our task, which is our mission, and this is the turning point and the time for that decision, Trump said, speaking to a crowd of CPAC attendees at the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center in Maryland. The speech comes more than 3 months after he announced another bid for president. The former president spoke for more than 90 minutes, ticking through a list of pledges for a second term in office, while also hitting on points he's repeatedly made in past speeches since leaving the White House, notably the lie that he won the 2020 election. Trump also criticized a handful of the Biden administration's policies, vowing to end the war in Ukraine and cut down on U.S. foreign aid. Trump's speech marked the third and final candidate address at the CPAC this year, following remarks from former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley and businessman Vivek Ramaswamy on Friday. And while CPAC has morphed into an event spotlighting Trump-backed political allies and conservative media personalities, including giving speaking time this year to the far-right former president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro. The Republican conference has long been seen as one of the most significant annual events for GOP leaders to lay the preliminary groundwork for potential presidential campaigns. At the same time, many of Trump's rumored primary opponents, notably Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, declined invitations to the event. DeSantis, a CPAC speaker in the past years, is widely seen as Trump's biggest primary threat if he gets into the race. Other Republicans rumored to be weighing presidential runs were also absent throughout the conference, including former Vice President Mike Pence, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, and New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu. Many of these 2024 hopefuls are instead attending a weekend event hosted by the conservative economics organization Club for Growth, which notably did not invite Trump. Though the group supported Trump during his 2020 campaign, it publicly split from him during the 2022 midterms when he began endorsing far-right candidates that the organization did not support. Can he win the 2024 elections? Former President Donald Trump has announced he will run for the party's nominating contest, vowing to make America great and glorious again. But while he remains popular with Republican voters, an underwhelming midterm performance due to part in losses for Trump-endorsed candidates has left him more vulnerable. The ex-president, who will be 78 in 2 years, is likely to face a stiff challenge from a coterie of Republican hopefuls, including some who once backed him. Like he did twice before, Donald Trump is yet again campaigning to be elected United States president despite having little interest in actually serving as president. And this time, his presidential ambitions may well make it impossible for the Republican Party to secure the highest office of the land in the foreseeable future. In 2016, Trump launched a presidential campaign largely to upset his critics and advertise his many business ventures, and surprised everyone, perhaps even himself, when he fully captured the Republican Party and declared victory. In 2020, he ran again because he needed the legal protection afforded by the office and felt entitled to re-election. When he lost, he refused to admit his defeat and claimed, without evidence, that the result was illegitimate. Now, he is back in the ring because he wants to take back what he believes was stolen from him. It is, however, still far from certain that we will witness a Trump-Biden rematch in 2024. Indeed, it may prove difficult, if not impossible, for the former president to secure the Republican nomination. By the time Trump became the official GOP nominee in 2016, most never-Trump Republicans had fallen in line, and those who continued to publicly oppose him after his election victory either retired or lost office through the course of his presidency. This allowed Trump to enter the 2020 race with a tight stronghold over the party. However, a lot has changed since then. After the poor Republican showing in the 2022 midterm elections, many prominent Republicans, including some who supported Trump's stolen election story after his 2020 defeat, turned against the former president. Large swaths of Republican voters concerned about Trump's political prospects due to his countless legal scuffles also started to demand someone else represent them in the next election. Meanwhile, his money-grabbing stunts, such as his bizarre NFT trading card venture, left even his staunchest allies unable to defend him. In the face of a diminished Trump, several other contenders for the Republican nomination emerged. The number one among those new contenders is without a doubt Florida's recently re-elected governor, Ron DeSantis. In the last few years, DeSantis raised his profile in the Republican Party by placing himself further to the right of Trump and taking stances against vaccines, LGBTQ inclusion, and so-called wokeness in general. Two major polls already predicted DeSantis would beat Trump in a head-to-head race for the 2024 Republican nomination. At this point, the best-case scenario for the GOP would be for Trump to drop out of the race, throw his support behind a consensus candidate such as DeSantis, and then remain relatively quiet. Anyone who is even slightly familiar with Trump's character, however, knows that this is a highly unlikely scenario. Another scenario that could work for the GOP would be one in which Trump's mounting legal troubles lead to criminal charges, leaving him practically unable to sustain a presidential campaign. Even this, however, would not be the end of the Republican Party's Trump troubles. In such a scenario, both the Biden campaign and Trump himself would force the Republican nominee for president to declare his or her stance on Trump, forcing them to either align themselves with a possible criminal or anger Trump's still loyal supporters by attempting to distance themselves from the ex-president. And that gets to the heart of the difficulty the GOP will face if it chooses anyone other than Trump as its nominee in the 2024 election. Does he have the necessary support? Though Trump remains a solid frontrunner, Republican voters are open to someone new. According to a recent NPR/PBS NewsHour/Marist survey, more than half of Republicans say their party has a better chance of winning the presidency with someone other than Trump on the ticket. After Trump's defeat in 2020 and a slew of losses from Trump-backed far-right candidates in the midterms, it's pushed some conservatives at CPAC to leave their options open a little longer. How will he handle Putin? During a television interview, former United States President Donald Trump revealed how he would deal with Russian President Vladimir Putin amid the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Pointing out the nuclear threats that Russia has made quite a few times, Trump said it was unacceptable that Putin was using the N-word so often. N-word means the nuclear word. During an interview with popular British television host Piers Morgan, Trump, as quoted by The Sun, said that he would approach Putin differently, with a completely different strategy. Trump said he believes that Putin is using nuclear threats to frighten other nations. The threats are apparently making the Russian leader think no one will attack him. Trump said that Putin thinks that everyone is stupid and afraid to talk about it. During the interview, Trump said Putin uses the N-word. I call it the N-word. He uses the N-word, the nuclear word, all the time. That's a no-no. You're not supposed to do that. He uses it on a daily basis, and everyone's so afraid, and so afraid. As quoted, Trump also said, And as they're afraid, he uses it more and more. That's why he's doing the kind of things he's doing now. He's doing them because he thinks nobody's gonna ever attack us, because they're all stupid and they're afraid to talk. On being asked about what he would do if he was the president instead of Joe Biden, "We, the US, have better weapons. We have the greatest submarine power in history," Trump said. Trump added, "I would say we have far more than you do. Far, far more powerful than you." We have come to the end of today's video. Now that you have learned everything there is to know about Trump's recent moves, what do you think will happen? Can he win the Republican primaries? And if he does, can he win the general election? Do you think he can stop World War III? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Hit the subscribe button and do well to tap the bell icon so you can get notifications whenever we upload another sizzling video. See you in the next video. Bye.